Yo, welcome to Just Facts, presented by Docket. Excuse Allison's little coffee cough there. So not optimal. I have no idea what our time is. We just landed in the Dominican Republic, and we just got to our hotel. I tried to have the hotel come and put me on a different Wi-Fi. I'm seeing one signal on my computer. I'm seeing a different one on StreamYard. I have no idea if we're choppy. Let us know in the comments. Obviously, man, there's just no rest for the wicked here because trying to start a vacation and then obviously this thing drops. Of course, it's almost as if Gull is doing this to torture me personally. But we just had to come live with y'all. All right, the way that we're going to do this, and again, I don't have my two screens. I'm going to have to flip back and forth between this and Acrobat to change the pages. So it's going to be clunky. So the way that we're going to do this, I am going to play the role of the attorneys. Allison is going to play the role of the judge. Good evening, Your Honor. Are you muted? I can't hear you. You got to unmute, babe.
Yes.
All right. All right. It's going to be clunky. We're in the Dominican, so just bear with us. All right, let's get rolling on this thing right away. So I'm going to be reading off my phone. I will do my best to remember to switch the pages for y'all. It's just not optimal. Maybe what I do is I just take me off screen. I don't really care. And that way I'm going through it.
Take us both off.
No. I mean, like you can still see me. The people can still see me, but I'm going to read through the document just so you can all. Okay, so this is from the hearing, the long-awaited transcript from the hearing that took place on 10/19 of this year back in Chambers. It is what we've all been waiting for, and it is an extremely interesting read. There is no question about that. So without further ado, my thing is acting jank as hell. Okay, all right, sorry, y'all. It's not the normal setup. All right. God damn it. It keeps, instead of like just moving the page, it keeps, why does it, oh my God. It's
try your arrow on your keyboard instead of, I don't know if it'll work in this.
Yeah, I was trying to zoom it a bit.
Zoom in it first and then use your arrow.
Okay. All right. Okay. So this is the proceedings. This is how it went back in Chambers. Judge, I wanted to do, and this is Nick McClelland. I'll announce who I am, and then Allie's always Gull. Judge, I wanted to do some introductions. I finally got approval from our counsel to hire a paid attorney to help me. So,
okay.
Small town local government. So this is Jim Luttrell. He's a retired prosecutor from Grant County. He's decided or agreed to come on board.
Okay, have a seat.
He signed the oath to my office.
Okay.
And all that. I'm going to handle a written appearance. Nice to meet you, Judge.
Nice to meet you, Jim.
Next week.
Okay.
Or maybe tomorrow if I have time, Judge, if I get it done.
Okay.
But he will be entered in, and we're just trying to get him up to speed.
Okay. Well, good.
Well, and this is attorney Brad Rosie. Well, I'm the one that kind of asked to huddle up. So if you want me to lead or if you want to say some things, I'm okay with whatever approach you want to take here.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I think it's your turn.
Oh, I'm sorry that I just put my thing on focus. Jody's got our portable FTR going so that we've
okay, that's fine. Obviously I'm happy to hear that the court's going to make some decisions on the pending pleadings today. I assume Andy feels the same way. It's time to kind of get some closure, if you will, with regard to those items so that we can move forward. It's probably obvious that the tension from our side is coming, from the words disqualification that were murmured in the phone conference that we had a couple of weeks ago. I'm assuming that you understand how that kind of raises the intensity level of the circumstances. And I guess if I have a concern today, it's that, that we're going to go out kind of in the public, so to speak, in the courtroom on the record and have a discussion about an ongoing investigation. And that's what I kind of gathered from the email. I think you invited Nick to talk if you wanted to.
Uh-huh.
And, it makes me a little uncomfortable because I don't know. First of all, there are no pleadings that are pending, whether they're motions to disqualify or contempt citations or whatever they might be, that really frame any of the issues. And I have no problem. I mean, I don't have any problem talking about this stuff privately on the record in in an ex parte confidential hearing. I just think it's difficult to expect that there will be any kind of structure to the idea of, hey, there's an ongoing investigation and just tell us what's going on. And I don't know that it has any relevance to what we're really trying to accomplish today. And I also don't know why Nick would want to talk about an ongoing investigation in public, knowing that in itself could be a little damaging to their circumstances. And so we're lawyers, and we're used to having issues framed, and we're used to having an opportunity to prepare. And I don't have anything to hide, and I don't know he doesn't have anything to hide. And I'm assuming he's pointing at Andy at that point. You've maybe gathered that we've cooperated. We ran into the state police posts, our respective posts, if you will. And I had somebody advise me of my rights, and I waived those, and I gave a formal statement. He did the same. And I'm not sure that we're going to benefit or that this will be productive just to open floor this. And that's my biggest concern today.
Mm-hmm.
Attorney Andrew Baldwin. I'm more of the due process side. I'm not really sure what will happen, but I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. And I would like the opportunity to know what's going to happen and prepare for their claiming or whatever before it happens. I don't want to say ambushed, but it's hard to know for me what to do when I don't know what's happening. There's not a pleading that we can respond to, things like that. So, you had indicated, when Nick said, I don't know if he said the word disqualification, but.
Oh, he did.
Was it that word?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't know if he just said it in a more generic way. And your response was, I'm leaning in that direction or something along those lines.
Uh-huh.
And so that's, a cause of concern. I mean, we're still wanting to try this case in January, and I'm willing to, we've made changes at my office that will prevent this from ever happening again, and we can take direction from the court. We can, we're locking every single thing on Delphi. It's in a dedicated room. We put locks in our conference room or the war room where this guy my friend went in and did this without my knowledge, and that no document, whether it's benign or something super, like a crime scene photo, is ever going to be left alone for a single solitary second ever again. So, I'm hoping that can be something that the court, can say, all right, that's fine. And then let's get on with the trial. But I'll shut up now.
Anything, Nick?
Nick McClelland. Judge, I guess my plan today was give the court a summary of the investigation. I've got witnesses here and exhibits to present that go towards the investigation. I'm more than happy to hand those over to the defense. I know it may harm the investigation, but I think it would be important that the court hear these things. I guess the heart of it, investigation, I think it's important. I think the importance of you hearing it is outweighed by that. And so I have those things. I'm concerned that the leak is not just a one-time leak. The evidence that we have shows that it's an ongoing leak. However it's being done, it's just what's next. I have an issue. What's next? I mean, I spent the past 17 days investigating this night and day when I should have been focused on preparing for trial. And when I say night and day, I mean phone calls at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 3:30 a.m., night and day. And so that's where I'm at, Judge. Again, I'm an officer of the court. I'm reporting to the court what I know, and that's kind of where I see my role. Your turn. Allie, you still there?
Okay.
What's going on, dude? I can't see you.
I hit mute again. I'm sorry.
All right, keep the mute off. It doesn't. We're in a hotel, y'all. If there's outside noise, you're gonna have to deal with it. I got a screaming kid outside the door out here. Sounds like, Mr. Rosie. This is starting to scream due process to me. I haven't seen. Sorry, where am I at? Sorry. I haven't seen any of these exhibits, and I don't really know. And I don't know really, frankly, I don't know anything about any of this. And I'm not distancing myself from Mr. Baldwin. I'm just saying that I have no connection with any of these people, okay? And that the idea that somehow the prosecutor is going to get to roll out a bunch of statements and exhibits and, testimony without us having any forewarning or any idea, any way of scrutinizing that, seems a little outside the boundaries of due process to me. Plus, again, I get back to what is relevance. I get back to what is the relevance to what is going on in this case. Are we going to use an open courtroom to air an ancillary matter? It's not really connected in any way at this point to the proceedings that are ongoing, whether it's the Franks issue or anything of that nature. And I will tell you this. I'm prepared to show the court this. I would rather do it in private. This problem has been a problem from the very beginning. I have 10 pages of a deposition transcript in this file from my deposition, our deposition that I took of Trooper Holman in this case. In that deposition, he talks openly about how there were crime scene links from the very beginning, unequivocal crime scene links. And that as soon as the crime occurred, they were investigating information that had been released because there were lay people that were part of the search party. And the implication is that, and I've got the transcript, is that those people that found those girls started to essentially disseminate or distribute information, and law enforcement essentially tried to catch up with them. But it was really too late, as you might expect. Once it gets in the hand of the public, it's too late. So he told us that, almost volunteered that information to me in the deposition. The second concern that I have is, I think I shared with the court, just as an example, a week or two ago, somebody sends me a court TV, a bit. And I can assure you, I've never watched one of those bits on this case. I don't know if I've ever watched court TV, maybe back when Simpson was ongoing. I don't know. And in that bit, Barbara McDonald is talking. 2 different occasions, she mentioned how she's getting information from investigators on the ground that were at the scene. Now, we can all draw implications about that, but most importantly, it was corroborated by the fact that she's holding in her hand documents that I know to be directly related to the Purdue report. I mean, I saw the pictures. I know where those came from. And if the point is here is, I'm going to say this maybe a little loosely, but forgive me. I don't care. I don't care that all this stuff is out there, because it's been out there for 5 or 6 years. I don't have time. He doesn't have time. He doesn't have time to sit and try to marshal all of this stuff while this case is ongoing, because there's no end to it. But the point is the court needs to have some context that this is nothing new. I lost sleep over the fact that there's a man who's dead that I don't even know. And frankly, Andy doesn't know. And it's tragic. I don't know what life circumstances he had or what surrounded this. None of that information has been shared with us. But at the end of the day, what's going on out in the cyber world and in public, as you might expect, in a case of this magnitude that's been publicized for 6 years, was beyond our control before we ever got involved. Mr. Baldwin, There's even a guy in Florida who says the guy in Texas who leaked all this stuff has received from a disgruntled Carroll County employee a whole file filled with stuff and photos included. I haven't seen the photos that were leaked. I don't know what they are. I mean, if this could be set for a formal hearing in the future where we have a chance to do it the right way, well, then that's one thing. But, to go in there and we don't have any way to counteract anything. If I know what it is, I can say, oh, okay, I know what that is, or I don't know what that is. And it's, in the meantime, we can, I don't know. Honestly, this is the lowest point of my career right now, because somebody did what they did to me. And that has nothing to do with Richard Allen.
It certainly does not.
Baldwin. Richard Allen needs to have counsel there. So I just don't want to go in there and not be able to fight back with evidence or witnesses that we have to counteract whatever they claim that they have. So.
Okay. Here are my thoughts in no particular order. I don't know how many folks are out there, and I certainly don't wish to air publicity to the world that concerns that I have about this matter. My intent in having this hearing was to go through some of the pleadings that we have not yet decided. So I was going to start with reminding everybody about the decorum order, reminding everybody why we're here, to shut up, etc. There have been reports to my sheriff about disruptive people, and I will remind people, if they are disruptive, they will be removed. And my sheriff is fully prepared to execute arrests if necessary, because I know we've seen in our other hearings, people have been disruptive and hateful. So under the rules, under the canons of judicial conduct, I am required to advise people within the room that the media is here and they are filming. They are doing pool coverage. So there's only 2 cameras in the courtroom and everyone's going to get coverage from that. And then I want to talk about the pleadings. Defendant filed a verified motion for immediate transfer of custody. The state filed its response. The motion, again, has a lot of inaccuracies and some speculation, and it has been refuted ably, I think, by the affidavits that have been submitted by the state, and I'm going to deny the motion. The defendant then filed a motion for broadcasting order. The state filed its response. Your motion's overly broad. It's got a lot of irrelevant verbiage in it, and I'm required to consider individual requests for hearings. So I will, if the media wishes to have an individual request submitted. They know fully well how to do that, and I provided to counsel all of those requests that I have gotten so far for this hearing. So if you want to file them for a particular hearing, you're certainly welcome to do that. But the media is all over this, and they know how to do this.
Yeah, well, I was just trying to understand, are you suggesting that you're going to determine on a case-by-case basis or a hearing-by-hearing basis?
Hearing by hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I just want to make sure I understood what.
The state filed its motion for leave of court to subpoena third-party records. I think that was directed, again, to DOC. I clearly can't grant that. I'm going to grant the defendant's motion to quash. But if you continue to raise his medical and mental health in pleadings, that's fair game then for that to be provided to the state. You have also filed, Mr. McClelland, a motion for future pleadings and filings to be sealed prior to being released to the public. I've not gotten a response from the defense.
Can I speak on this?
Sure.
I think it's important to note, we've had this discussion come up before, and there was basically, we decided, okay, we're done sealing stuff. We're going to make it public. Before we filed that Frank's brief, I had a long conversation with the court reporter, Karen Allen, over in Delphi, because I wasn't sure about Allen or Roller. I always want to call her Karen.
McClelland.
It's you. Oh, McClelland. Allen. Sorry. Karen Allen, and back to Rosie, because I wasn't sure about the mechanics of how this stuff was moving from Delphi to your office. And I know that you had set up some kind of website or something that people could access. I was under the understanding, in speaking with Mr. Allen, I'm not blaming her for anything. But when we file these things, we were going from them and they were hitting a button. We were filing with Carroll County. They were hitting enter and they were sending it to you, and you were essentially filtering this stuff, at least you were seeing it before it became public.
Nope.
And so that's why in talking with her, that's the way I understood mechanics, which I think is what happened to a pleading the other day. From what I understand, we filed something and you either put it in a queue. I think there's anyway, I just tried to do some homework on that. And that's what Mr. Baldwin, I was a part of one of those conversations, and that's what she said.
So does that need a hearing? I'm happy to have a hearing on that. I don't have a problem with that.
Mr. Rosie, well, I guess I'm just telling you for context. That's what Mr. Baldwin, I mean, could there be a happy medium of we file it confidentially and then so the judge then gets a chance to review it first? Because that's what we thought was going on anyway. But if that's not what's going on.
No, it's being filed confidentially if you mark it as such.
I know. Yeah, I know that now.
I had my staff mark the memorandum confidential after it was filed and disseminated to the public because the actual warrant was in there, and that's covered under a miscellaneous cause number. I'm happy to have a hearing.
Mr. Rosie, well, what is your ruling? I guess to make sure that I understand, I don't want to fight about something that we don't need to argue about.
I haven't ruled on that.
Okay.
You haven't filed a response, and that.
Yeah.
My question is, do we need a hearing on that, or do you wish to file a response? The Frank motion clearly needs a ruling, and I'm working on that. The motion and exhibits are about 1,500 pages, and there are hours and hours and hours of interviews that have been made available that my IT staff has now cleared to make sure they're okay. We've already talked about that. And then, that brings us to my concerns that I raised with all of you on our phone call. And I write everything out. And this is what I intend to say in open court. I have concerns regarding the defense team and the totality of the circumstances surrounding your representation of Mr. Allen. Candidly, my concerns began at our hearing on November 22nd of last year. Mr. McLeland filed a motion for a gag order, and we were in chambers, and you assured me, gentlemen, quote, "We don't want the media in our lives. We will not try this case in the media," end quote. And less than 2 weeks later, you issued an undated press conference that contained an awful lot of information that would normally not be revealed. I don't know. I think you knew or should have known those were potentially violative of Rule 3.6 of the Rules of Professional Responsibility. But it is that press release that prompted me to issue the order December 2nd, granting the gag order until further hearing. April 18th of this year, you filed a notice of tort claim against the Department of Corrections. You stated in that notice that it was your intent to pursue, quote, "our client's claims against you. The full amount of damages sought on behalf of my client is unknown," end quote. I don't know how you could do that in representing Mr. Allen in a criminal matter and then launch off into a civil matter. I think that's inappropriate. May of this year, we were notified by the state of the Brandon Woodhouse arrest and subsequent discovery of your work product. And I think it was an outline that you created for yourselves with the discovery. It was pretty detailed. I don't know if that's the right word. That apparently happened in December of last year, and it was not revealed to anyone, not shared with the court. It wasn't shared with you, although apparently you guys knew about what was going on.
He didn't know.
You knew.
I did know.
So then, Mr. Woodhouse gets arrested, and here we are, grossly negligent in an email that to the wrong Brad. Your pleadings on the safekeeping order contain inaccuracies and falsehoods that was proven in the hearing we conducted in June. The evidence presented by the state clearly demonstrated the falsity of your claims, and that was very troubling to me. And then the last couple of weeks that we have been dealing with this, the state provided you discovery. that has been severely compromised. We now have an ongoing investigation. I'm not sure. I'm not going to call it a criminal investigation. I don't know what it is, but it's clearly being investigated by the state of Indiana. Everyone involved has sought counsel, including you, Mr. Baldwin. You've had an attorney enter a written appearance this morning. I don't want to get into this investigation candidly. You are the constitutional authority for the state of Indiana. If you choose to pursue it, that is up to you. If you choose to abandon it, that is clearly up to you. I'm glad to hear that you have been that you have cooperated. But Mr. Baldwin's attorney has clearly shared, I don't know, have you seen his pleading?
Mr. McClelland, I saw it, Judge. Yes, I got it kind of late. He emailed us then.
Okay.
I saw that it was filed on the way here.
Well, yeah. So he's clearly shared in his pleading down to the fact that an individual has committed suicide. He included the fact that you left materials all over the conference room table accessible to anyone. And this is a friend of yours who apparently you have consulted with on this case. So again, it's up to you if you wish to pursue that. I'm looking at the totality of the circumstances. You know, when I look at suppression, the case law requires me to look at the totality of the circumstances, and that's what I'm doing. And it pains me to say this, but the totality of these circumstances demonstrate gross negligence and incompetence on the part of the defense team. I am unsatisfied with your representation of Mr. Allen. I am gravely concerned about his rights to have competent, non-negligent representation. He currently doesn't have that right now because what you have demonstrated is negligence and incompetence. Now, I am sharing my thoughts with you privately. I don't want to say this in open court. I would encourage you to talk privately about what you wish to do. I don't want this coming out. It's not where we need to be with this case, but I will. But you don't know that. You have just now been made aware of my concerns and where I'm landing. So if you wish to have a private conversation, I would encourage you to do that. I don't believe your client is here yet. No, he's not. Clearly, you'll need to speak to him as well. So,
Mr. Baldwin, I'm not good at reading between the lines.
You're a lawyer. It's what you do for a living.
Mr. Baldwin, when you say have a private conversation, are you talking the four of us, or?
I'm talking about you. I'm not accusing the state of gross incompetence or negligence. I am finding gross incompetence and negligence with you.
So, okay. So, Mr. Rosie, forgive me. Go ahead. No. Mr. Rosie. I mean, obviously, reading the tea leaves here, what you're giving us a chance to do is bow out gracefully, if you will, if that's the right term. Is there a scenario where the court would accept if I stayed in the case? I mean, I'm a team player, and I'm not the kind of guy that just bails out on somebody just for the sake of doing it. But I think it's obvious that, you know, he can speak differently, but I'm not as concerned to some of, you know, this most recent circumstances he is. Mr. Allen is in a situation where he's going to have counsel if he has new counsel, it's going to take them a year to get up to speed with the depth of information that continues to come in. And so I think that his Sixth Amendment rights matter. And, you know, I'm probably the one that can at least move this thing forward with some sense of judicial economy. I don't like it. And that's not what I intended to do when I came in here today. But that would be kind of worst case scenario on our side. You know, I guess, so that is an option that the court would entertain?
No.
Mr. Rosie. So basically what you're saying is you guys either quit on your own accord or you make me fire you. That's what.
No, I'm saying to you that this is what I plan to say in court on the record when we convene at 2:00.
Mr. Rosie. Well, so is the culmination of that you're removing us from the case?
I will, based on what I've just shared with you.
Mr. Rosie. Okay. Well, I just want to make sure we're.
And I'm giving you the opportunity to have a conversation, which, how do you want that to go? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this, but I will if I have to.
Mr. Baldwin, should we bow out gracefully, as Brad says? How would we even have a hearing? How would that go? Because if we're out of the case, then, Mr. Rosie, then you're going to go ahead and rule on a bunch of stuff without lawyers in the room?
No, I wouldn't do that. If you decide that your best course of action is to file a motion withdrawal, you can do that today. And I'll send Mr. Allen back to the DOC after you've had your chance to speak with him.
Mr. Baldwin, what would happen before the hearing or after the hearing?
Your motion to withdraw would happen before the hearing.
Mr. Baldwin, okay, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, because he has rights, and I don't want those rights compromised by having a hearing with him not having counsel. I assume if you choose to withdraw, that his financial situation hasn't changed and he would still be entitled to court-appointed counsel. I can't imagine that he has the ability at this point to hire counsel. I don't know that.
Mr. Baldwin, Brad and I need to talk.
Yes, you do. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. McClellan. Yep. Thank you, Judge.
Well, let's take a little break here while they're off the record and just talk about some of that real quick, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. It's quite a thing. So what do you feel?
A couple of big things that it's very consistent with what the defense said, including you've got Baldwin saying, well, hey, what about me over here? Can you let me stay on? And she's like,
Rosie,
no.
Rosie.
Oh, Rosie, sorry. And she's like, no, you're out too. I mean, she made it very clear, even from talking about the fact that there's, all the media was out there. And I think you had said it on another live that you predicted that all of those witnesses that were in the box that day were there to address the investigation into the leak, which clearly they were, as it was acknowledged here. And then one of the other things that really struck me was the judge saying that the state has proven that the assertions by the defense were false and inaccurate. You were there, so I don't know. You tell me.
Look, I mean, you had three people from the state, and I'm talking about the safekeeping hearing where they're talking about the first time that they tried to move Allen. I mean, if the judge is going to sit there and pretend like anybody that's associated with Westville Prison is going into court and admitting to torturing anybody in there, she's full of shit. I'm sorry. That's just not realistic. They didn't prove anything. I mean, yes, it's sworn testimony. So as far as that goes, but for her to have that as one of her primary reasons, where she said that was her initial thing, that they had lied in this thing, that she's casting shade on them, saying that they have lied about all the conditions in the jail. And look, and even I had stated early on, I thought that they may have been a little bit over the top with some of the things that they were saying. They put out the picture with Richard Allen in the soiled t-shirt, and they said they were starving him. They said that he was sleeping on the ground. I mean, they were making it sound like it was basically a prisoner of war type situation. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, we have a letter from Baston. People are trying to discredit him because, of course, he's a felon. You know what I mean? It's easy to cast shade and discredit felons because for some reason they're not credible at any point ever again in their life because they're a felon. I don't know if I subscribe to that. We have been in prisons many, many times. They are not nice places. They are not comfortable places, but there is a basic civil rights and basic human rights issue that is always at issue in prisons. So, for her to be using that as a sword in this particular issue, to me, just rings hollow. Whatever the case may be, I heard the Worden's self-serving testimony, and I expected him to say nothing. He's not going to go in there and admit, yeah, we're starving the guy out. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're having him sleep in a pissed-on mattress on the floor. He's not going to admit any of that. And we don't have any way. No one has any way to prove it. What are they going to haul Richard Allen out all like just zonked out on whatever tranquilizer they're giving this guy? I mean, he walked in that hearing that day looking like a zombie. And I'm talking about Allen. So, I mean, he wasn't even an option. You know, it's like there's so much going on here that, you know, it's just so hard. But I'm just going to flat out say it. Like, I nailed everything on this thing from the due process, Sixth Amendment, that those guys were there for like, I wasn't wrong about any of it. And you know what? In terms of Gull, we're seeing what her position's going to be. I mean, it's going to boil down to the one question ultimately. How is she made? Because she's clear on her position. You know, I mean, she feels this way. Like, she feels that these guys have been grossly negligent. Now, the problem rises to the issue of the lack of due process. You know, I mean, how does she make a rule? I mean, she's coming from a very one-sided perspective. She has not had the benefit of allowing these two lawyers to fill her in on their side of this. If she's got questions, if she thinks they're lying or making falsehoods in any kind of pleadings, they should have the opportunity to address it at a hearing. There should have been a full hearing on this. That was the judge's decisions and no one else's. Not Nick McClelland, not Brad Rosie, not Andy Baldwin. If she wanted to do this, she should have been the judge and say, you know what? Forget all this. I don't want to do it to you out in public. I'm going to do it. But what she had to do if she was going to do it was give them the time to respond, period. She fucked that up. There's no, like, even people that are on the opposite side of me know that she fucked that up.
I would hope so. I mean, it's hard to read this and not see it for precisely the way the defense described it. And like, you know, like you've always said, and like the defense, I mean, there was nothing, you know, nice about this. Like, I don't want to do it because I want you to quit, but I'm fully prepared to do it. And
yeah, I'm shit canning you. Like, I mean, it was unequivocal. Like, right. I'm going to go, I will flamethrow you in that courtroom. I have made the decision. I'm telling you, I'm giving you the courtesy. It's exactly what they said. It's not a choice. There is no choice. You know,
she made that clear. She made clear that there was no choice.
Yeah,
the choice was, are you going to do it on your own, or are you going to make me do it? That was the only choice. So all right.
You want to jump back in?
Yeah,
all right, back on the record.
Yeah, Baldwin and Rossi are out there talking.
So, right. Well, so this is when I see, this is when Rosie comes out. No, first it's the clerk or the bailiff. I'm not sure which one comes in and gets Kathy Allen. They bring her back to have a conversation with Brad and Andy, I'm assuming at this point, because she went back for about 10 minutes. They obviously give her the down low on what the fuck is happening back in Chambers and what is going on with her husband's lawyers. And so that she comes back hysterical, crying like 10, 15 minutes later. And then they're back in Chambers, which I'm assuming is about where we will pick it back up.
Okay, so we're back on the record.
Yes.
Thank you, Jody. Court reporter says you're welcome. Okay, yes.
All right. So obviously we're kind of trying to figure out how to address this issue with very short notice, very little notice. The first thing that we did is really to talk to our client.
Mm-hmm.
Our client is a big part of this, the bigger part of this, and he has communicated to us that he does not want us to withdraw from this case. He wants us to continue with his representation. He understands, I think, that he's not the gatekeeper, or he doesn't have the authority to really force the court to do that. He would like to say that on the record. We asked him if that's what he wanted to do. We suggested maybe he would do it in Chambers. He seems a little bit of a difficult position to put a man who's accused but has not been found guilty, put him in a courtroom and have him, have to speak in this circumstance with 15 minutes notice. Andy and I'm going to speak for myself. I'll let him speak for himself. I'm going to file a motion to withdraw. I don't want to do it, but I don't think that I have a choice at this point. The options I've been given without any notice by the court really are either I withdraw or I'm going to be publicly shamed. And that's the way I see it. And I think the public shaming is there's not only a professional element to that, I think that there's a personal aspect to that too. But when the media is teed up like this, we show up here today with the court having told us that we were going to conduct some business that somehow bleeds over into a forced resignation or whatever you want to, however you characterize this, I don't feel that I have any other choice professionally. I have a life beyond this courtroom and beyond this case, and I have a family too, and I have a law practice. But I think we've been given some notice of what we were actually, if this would have been framed in a pleading format or some formal disciplinary claim, which there's a process for that in our business, then we have come in here today with an opportunity. We could have come in here today with an opportunity to refute some of those things that you clearly had, thought through and prepared before we got here. And we didn't have that opportunity. And it's the idea that I'm going to have to go in here in an open courtroom and essentially defend myself against claims that I don't agree with without any notice and without any opportunity, I think is unfair. But I also have some common sense. And, me going in there and standing my ground because my client wants me to is just going to make things worse for him. So I'm going to withdraw my appearance. I'm going to walk out here and I'm going to go down to my car and I'm going to call my staff and I'm going to have them prepare a motion. And then I'm going to withdraw my appearance. But I'm doing it because I don't think I have any other choice professionally, not because I want to and not because my client wants me to. And I respect the court has an opinion, but we're professionals and we can disagree.
Of course.
And I'm extremely, I'd say frustrated. It's probably a soft word with the idea that we showed up today without any real opportunity to prepare for any of this. And I just think it's improper. And that's where I am. And that's my position.
Well, I think we've talked about it. When you asked for a disqualification and I indicated on our phone conversation, I'm inclined to do that.
It was a phone conversation that was not on the record and then some follow-up emails.
True.
There's an informality to that.
True.
And you also said that you hadn't even done any research and that you hadn't, had time to talk to your senior judge and all these other things. And he hasn't filed a pleading with the court either, I'm assuming, pointing at McClelland.
No, I'm doing this on my motion.
Mr. Rosie, and I'm a lawyer who practices in lots of courtrooms, and I've been through some disqualification actions. In 20 years, I've had a disciplinary complaint in my life.
Never.
I've never had a disciplinary complaint in my life that's been confirmed, if you will. But I've seen lawyers disqualified, and there is a process for that. And it's not this. With all due respect, where you walk into somebody's office, a judge's office, and they read a prepared statement to you, and essentially that statement is an indictment on my professional, activities. And then you're handed, essentially a sheet of paper with two options. And one of them is, I'm going to go out here and shame you, or you can quit. You can understand how upset that would make any lawyer. I don't think it's the right way to handle this from a due process standpoint. So I have no choice but to, withdraw my appearance because I'm not going to go in there and take a public shaming without having any notice of it. That's where I'm at with it. Mr. Baldwin, I'm the same, withdrawing. I mirror what he said. I mean, I do appreciate giving us the advance notice. if there is some appreciation for that, I do appreciate that. But beyond that, I wanted to take this, I wanted to take this and finish it out. I'm stunned. I don't know what to say. So I'll just say I'm moving to withdraw orally.
Okay.
Mr. Rosie, is the court going to generate some further instructions on what to do with all the discovery that we have? And
I already have.
Mr. Rosie, all of this information, and
there's an order. I granted the state's protective order on discovery.
now I'm talking about my possession of all this information. Am I to take it out to the trash can? Am I supposed to wait for another attorney? Is the court going to give us some guidance on how to move all of this information from one law office
I did.
to another?
When I granted the state's protection order, I think it's the last paragraph of that protective order that directs you to return it all to the state of Indiana, all the copies, all of the whatever you gave them, they are required under that order to return to you.
At the conclusion of the case.
Or your representation.
I know what order you're talking about. I read the order before I came today.
Okay.
So we're supposed to just take everything back and give it to the state and then just retain our work product until somebody asks for it?
Your work product is your work product. I mean, I would hope that you would share it with the successor counsel. I would hope that you would help successor counsel just with the transfer of all the information. This is me now. Just with the transfer of all the information. I wanted to repeat that part. Because that's in your client's best interest to do that. But that's entirely up to you. That's your work product that you have developed. I mean, clearly the discovery is required to go back to the state.
Okay, thank you. What do you want to do with Mr. Allen?
I can transport him back to the Department of Corrections.
Do you want me to make a record with his, I think it's appropriate that the court let him speak into the record his thoughts, unless the court just accepts that as notice that those were his opinions.
Well, you wouldn't lie to me about that.
I would not lie to you about anything.
So, of course, that's your representation. And that's what he would say if he were brought in here. I can't imagine the DOC being comfortable bringing him into my office. I would not be comfortable with having him in my office.
Would the court also be inclined to mark as an exhibit the prepared statement so that it's part of the record?
I have the record rolling.
Okay.
Yes.
So we're going to leave, I guess. And how is this? You're just going to get up on the bench and say,
I will just indicate to Mr. McClelland's going to be in there with Mr. Luttrell,
yeah.
So I will just indicate to Mr. McClelland's going to be in there with Mr. Luttrell. And I'll just say that we've had a turn of events and defense counsel is withdrawing. And that's all I'm going to say.
Mr. Baldwin, can you wait for us to get out of here?
Of course. And we can have you, I don't know where you're parked at. We have a hearing set for October 31st that I'd like to keep as a trial setting and appointment of new counsel. And if you can get things together by that date to return to Mr. McClelland, that would be good. Otherwise, if, with your permission, I will give successor counsel your contact information.
Baldwin, okay. Rosie, okay.
Where are you parked?
Mr. Rosie, nice to meet you. Sorry to Mr. Luttrell. Mr. Baldwin. Just right out here in front of the building. I mean, there's a parking lot. There's a little parking lot right in front of the building. I don't know what.
Everyone's in the courtroom, so I don't think that there's anybody out there in the hallways.
I'm going to go get my staff member. This is Rosie. And I'm going to have her. I don't need any. We'll rendezvous at some point and try to get the stuff back.
McClelland.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Between Steve and I and Sarah and you, Mr. Rosie. Okay, McClelland, we'll get it all. It's fine, Rosie. McClelland, done. That's either Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this concludes the proceedings had in camera on October 19th, 2023 in this cause. So there you go.
Outrageous. Outrageous.
It's a thing. It's a thing for certain. So
I mean, how's she gonna hold her head up to this? I don't even. She's gonna have to go hide underground somewhere. This is a disgrace.
Look, here's the way that I view it. If she has some legitimate concerns, which clearly in her mind she does, with respect.
All right, Mr. Due Process. How does that change?
But you interrupted me before you let me finish.
Okay.
That's exactly my point. Then you know what? Flesh it out. She's created an untenable situation for herself by shitting all over the Constitution, by denying Richard Allen and his attorneys the limited due process that they have. And in turn, what it's done is completely evaporated his Sixth Amendment right to counsel, all without the benefit. At the end of the day, what this boils down to is the fact that the woman did not have a hearing.
And give them time to prepare for that hearing and notice and a written motion and whatever.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she had a position with respect to everything. None of it, in my opinion, and that's all that it is, none of what she described comes close to her being able to DQ either of these guys. That whatever McClelland found in his investigation, and for all I know, to be honest with you, because we didn't have a hearing, that could have been a smoke show. Period. I don't know how it.
Sorry.
I don't know how it goes beyond in terms of responsibility for Baldwin beyond the dude who pimped it out of his office. Whatever. That's where his beef is with the judge, and whatever she deems to be a proper sanction, it sure the fuck isn't pulling him off the case.
Language.
This isn't the podcast on here.
I know, but
you know what I'm saying? It reached a level of exactly what they suggested, exactly what Hennessy suggested. You know what? Fine them for 24 hours where they're not getting paid. That's thousands of dollars they're docked in money. They'll feel that. If you look, and I've had the conversation, and I've had a lot of pushback in our Patreon group from people that are not in the legal world, that they're in the business world, or that they're in civil lawsuits. And they're like, if I'm involved with the case, I want all my private information to be secured. You know, that's the way that people think about this. And it's different when you're talking about evidence in a case. It is not attorney-client privilege material. It's different than a person who's talking about a patent office with trade secret stuff that is the entire point of that is to keep it secret, because that's what the entire business is going to be built upon. That this is all stuff that's going into evidence at trial. It's a different circumstance. It just is. And I was trying to explain to people, it's not practical. It's just not I posed a question to somebody. I'm saying, what in your mind, what do you think the average defense attorney's office is like? Do you think it's some giant office with buzzing with people all over but most criminal defense attorneys are solo practitioners. I mean, yes, there are firms that have a bunch of lawyers that are criminal defense guys, but you are not getting giant criminal defense firms like you see with civil. Right. It's a very different beast. And when we have a war room on a case like this, where you've got thousands, the judge told you exactly what she was dealing with just on the memo, trying to get through the documents that were tendered as exhibits with the Franks memo. And so you can imagine when you have two attorneys that are claiming, and I have no reason to doubt them, that they were ready to go to trial on this thing in January, that they have a war room. And like you just as an attorney, I never would have expected anybody in our office, Allison, to walk around taking pictures of poor little Thomas Hunter with knives sticking out of his neck and go publish them. You know what I mean?
That's true, but we did have everybody sign like a confidentiality protective order type thing.
Do you think that would have mattered to this guy that went in
this
there?
Would not have made a difference. Clearly, the guy was intent on doing it. He had a whole little plot plan. And then I just want to point out, I know you've said it a ton of times, but there are people out there who think, well, the judge should have just let, gone to a hearing that day. That would not have solved the problem. This needed to be a situation where they get notice, they get time and an opportunity to prepare, and then there is a hearing. And it is for that reason and the lawyers make it abundantly clear. Like, hey, if we had known any of this, if we know specifically what your issues are, we could respond, we could counter them, play by play. We could have our own witnesses here, but you're not giving us that opportunity. And that's the thing. This was not just something where the judge could have gone back in the courtroom on that very day and had a hearing. It had to be set to comply with the Constitution and due process. That had to be set for a future date after they had notice and an opportunity to prepare.
100%. And beyond that, like from her perspective, to be able to provide the actual ammo that she would have needed to say that I had to DQ these guys for all of these reasons. She had to get it on the record. She had to present. She had to have an evidentiary hearing. Like without doing that, it's just words. Them's just words. I don't know what Nick McClellan had. He may have just marched those freaking guys in there, and they didn't know jack shit other than the same thing that I see a bunch of YouTubers know. So
I'm going to leave you guys, if you don't mind, babe. I'm going to leave you guys. Go join the rest of my family for dinner.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna.
You can answer all their questions and.
All right.
We'll do whatever it is.
Got 5-starred, so that's nice.
I don't think this was that much of a question kind of thing, but
I'm sure there's a million questions.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for joining us. Sorry to jump out early. I've got 50 family members at dinner.
50 family members sitting.
We just got here.
We did. That's how much we love y'all. We just got the Dominican Republic, and
it was like Gull was actually messing with us on purpose.
That's what I said. It's like I almost feel like she's got a personal vendetta against me. She's like, "Oh, that dickbag mom going Dominican."
That was the other thing that I thought either Baldwin or Rossi, pointed out. This has a very personal feel to this. This is not just professional. This has the way you are setting this up, Judge Gold, the way you are carrying it out feels very personal.
Hey, y'all, has the has the feed been choppy or has it been pretty good? Like where's it been? Somebody answer me right away so I could see. All right, I love you. She gone. All right, so I mean that's it, y'all. I mean that is a thing, there's a ton of questions, and like we obviously I'll have to do another live here from the Dominican. And for some godforsaken reason, I agreed to be on Vinny Politan tonight. Like instead of enjoying it's like, I didn't even know this happened. I should have known when the booker from Court TV emailed me right when our plane was taking off. Do I want to come on talking about Delphi? I'm like, about what? Like we don't want to talk about the response to the first original action. I mean, we talked that out. That's not newsworthy. And then I come to land and I see that Sleuthy is, said, "Oh, well, here you go." She had posted in one of our groups. And then I had gotten an email from Kara. Like she always gives, Sleuthy and I the heads up when we get some stuff from her. So I don't know what y'all think. I think in terms of the representations made by the defense, I don't think that there was any hyperbole. I think that Rosie was rightfully infuriated. I hope that I acted that out as I believe that he would have been acting back in Chambers, because that's how I would have been acting back in Chambers. Just, I mean, Baldwin, I mean, he was very reticent. You had one attorney being aggressive who, frankly, took the position of like, I'm not going to throw my partner on this trial under the bus, but like, I didn't do shit here. This wasn't my deal, and like, I'm being lumped in. That's a tough spot for Rosie in that situation, because we all know no one can say anything about Brad Rosie having done anything with respect to, and if you think that him filing a civil lawsuit because they're alleging that his client is being tortured and in various ways in Westville prison, and filed civil suit, that is grounds for disqualification in his criminal case, I would strongly disagree with you. It doesn't even come close. Like, it may irritate her. She doesn't even know. Like she said, oh, that seems improper. She doesn't know. She didn't do any the whole point is that she's going on her gut feeling as opposed to evidence that was presented at a hearing. And you can't do that when a man's life is at stake. And like people keep talking about the leak. I don't care. I don't care about the leak. I don't care who started it. I could care less. If you've followed me at all, the one thing that I don't care about or talk about is that leak or how it started, because as far as I'm concerned, it was contained. This isn't like the whole world saw all this stuff. It has to be taken for what it ended up being, which is not much. A few people saw it. Maybe it's out there. Maybe people have common sense and courtesy and care about these girls enough to not puke it out to the public because they're not total scumbags. That's all we can hope for with that. But as far as where it lands in the case itself, it's over. It's happened exactly what Rosie said. And he went off with zero preparation. And this answers my friends on the prosecutors who were talking about them having all the notice coming into that. And that was addressed, I think, by both the judge, where she acknowledged that it wasn't proper notice, that there were emails sent, and there was not. I mean, it was exactly what I said, because it's exactly what it was. You cannot do this. To Richard Allen, it's not even about Rosie and Baldwin. It's about the guy who's standing trial. It just is. It's about his Sixth Amendment right to counsel. So I have no idea what the Supreme Court of Indiana is going to do on this thing. I really don't. I honestly don't. I know that they've never, like Kara told us on our live, I know that she's never heard of a writ of mandamus being used in this fashion to reinstate it. I mean, it would be like the first time type thing, which is, it doesn't give me the warm and fuzzies that Rosie and Baldwin are going to get reinstated, and like when I read this, I mean, the judge had a position, and the judge may have obviously legitimately felt like these guys were screwing it up. And I mean, that's her right to think that. The question then becomes, can she, without the benefit of having had an evidentiary hearing, do what she did? That is the ultimate question. There was no due process. And then what has to be entered into the analysis, the effect of the fact that Baldwin and Rosie then entered their pro bono appearance, because it changes the continuity argument. People keep wanting to reflect back on the time when they were both appointed. Well, that time is over, because they came and they filed, no matter whether or not she rejected them and said, I can't allow you to enter your appearances. They filed it with the clerk of court. It's of record. It happened. You can't pretend that it didn't happen. It's out there. So that changed the game in terms of that analysis. So where, the argument was, well, look, you don't have a choice in appointed counsel. Sorry, they're gone. To, okay, these are my chosen counsel and they agreed to rep me pro bono, free. These are my guys. Like I see how hard they're fighting. So it's a lot, y'all. I love y'all for coming in so last moment. I'm sorry if the feed's been choppy. You know, I really wanted to, I was just really excited to read this. And again, it was first blush. I was reading it because I just got settled here and I was reading it at the same time and comprehending it at the same time that y'all were hearing us read it. So I'll have another live this week, I promise. I'm sure that a lot of my creator buddies are going to be out there talking about this all night. I'm sure that we got Grisella and the Grizzlies and Teresa and Criminality and I don't know, like Steve and Dan on Publicly Buzz might even mess with this tonight. I don't know, but there'll be folks out there, all of us that are following this case that are, you know, really dug in and entrenched. Oh, and also my buddies over at Unraveling, I'm sure they're going to be digging into this hard. So, you know, there's two camps on this, and I'm not pretending to be unbiased on this. I think that Gull made a horrible mistake here. Take out of the equation at this point. I'm not even thinking about innocence or guilt phase anymore. That is that we're so far away from that at this point that's not even something that I'm in considering in any fashion. So right now, this procedural mess that we are just entrenched in is all I'm thinking about, you know, and there's just so, and frankly, for y'all that are just starting to kind of get into the true crime game or really kind of getting behind, you know, just the Discovery ID surface level stuff. And now you're digging into what we do for a living. And it's fascinating. And there's so many issues. And I love and Allison loves bringing it to you. And we hope that we educate you. And look, I'm not trying to pretend I think Gull made a terrible mistake. I think that these two should not have been removed as counsel. That's my opinion. And that's all it is. And if Gull makes the decision, or if the Supreme Court says, you know what, we think that Gull was within her rights, it was within her discretion, and we're going to go with her, then I accept that. It is what it is. It doesn't mean that I have to agree with it, but I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to be happy about it. But of course, I'll accept it because I believe that there will be a kind soul out there, another attorney that is worth his salt or her salt, that will step in and take over. And Labrado and Scremin will be kicked to the curb, who both could be amazing attorneys. I just cannot stomach the fact that they come from her county and they were handpicked by her. You know, after she sees these two guys as absolute cowboys that had just run rampant and done whatever the hell they wanted to do. She wanted two guys that she could control, and these two guys are that. In this case, cannot have those types of attorneys, because whatever's out there, whatever the case may be with this memo and the things that were discovered in discovery by the defense, they're out there, they exist. And of course, it all has to be vetted at trial, just like the state's evidence does. The theory that they've brought forth, the defense's theory has to be vetted as well. So we'll see how it lands. All right, y'all. I love y'all. Thank y'all so much for joining us, because without you, I'd just be an old man talking about new cases. Talk to you next time.